Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. All right, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Yud Bet in Masechet Kiddushin. Kol makom sheyesh Kiddushin ve'en avera. Whenever a couple are able to have get married, Kiddushin, it would take effect. Ve'en avera. There is no transgression if they marry. Havalad holech achara zachar. The status of the child goes after the father. Ve'eze. Whom does this rule apply? Zu kohenet leviya v'Yisraelit shenisu lekohen levi Yisrael. It applies to a kohen girl, a Levi girl, a Israel girl who marries to a kohen Levi Israel male. So the child of that union would be what the father was. V'kol makom sheyesh kiddushin ve'yesh avera. But wherever there was kiddushin, ve'yesh avera, but there's a transgression, which the Mishnah will explain. Havalad holech achar pagum. The status of the child would go after the male or female that was pagum, that was flawed. Ve'ezo, who does this apply to? Almana lekohen gadol. If, for example, a widow gets married to a kohen gadol, gerusha v'chalutza lekohen ediot, or a divorcee or a chalutza marries an ordinary kohen. So in all these cases, the child becomes a halal. The child is not a kohen; it's a halal. We go after the flawed individual, which was the almana or the gerusha, whatever the case. Mamzeret netina leIsrael, or a mamzeret or a netina who got married to an ordinary Jew, or bat Yisrael mamzer natin, or a daughter of an ordinary Jew who got married to a mamzer natin. In these cases, the child acquires the lineage of the flaw, so the child will become a mamzer in these cases. V'kol mi she'en lak alav kiddushin. Any woman who would be with a man with whom she cannot have kiddushin with. Aval yesh la al acherim kiddushin, but she could have kiddushin with other men. In that case, havlad mamzer, the vlad is a mamzer. Ve'eze, who does this apply to? Ze abal achad mikol arayot ba'Torah. Anyone who cohabits with one of the arayot, the ervaz in the Torah, a close relative. A man marries and lives with a close relative. The child is a mamzer. Ve'kol mi she'en la lo alav ve'lo al acherim kiddushin. And any woman who cohabits with a man whom she cannot have kiddushin, and she cannot have kiddushin with anyone else. Okay, havlad kemotah, then the child from this man has the same status as she does. Ve'eze, who does this rule apply to? Ze vlad shivcha v'nochrit. It applies to a child of a Canaanite slave and the child of a non-Jewish woman. These women cannot be married by any Jew, and therefore if a Jew happens to cohabit with any one of them, she passes her status as a non-Jewish slave or a non-Jew to the child, and this is why a child of a non-Jewish woman is not Jewish. Rabbi Tarfon says, Mishnah Yud Gimel, Yecholin mamzerim leitaher. There is a way that if you are a mamzer, you can't become purified, but your children can become purified. How is that so? Keitzad, mamzer shenasa shivcha. You get a mamzer, and he marries a Canaanite slave, a non-Jewish slave. Havlad eved, the child is not a mamzer, the child is a eved, a slave. Shichero, then if the master frees the child, nimsa ben chori, the child is now a free man, an ordinary Jew, not a mamzer. Rabbi Eliezer says, Hareh zeh eved mamzer. He says that if a mamzer marries a Canaanite slave, the child is both a slave and a mamzer, even if he's free. So he argues with the Tanna Kama. That concludes Perek Gimel. Perek Dalet, last Perek in Masechet Kiddushin, also the most difficult. Asara yuchasin alu mi Bavel. There were 10 different types of lineage that came with Ezra from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael shortly after the story of Purim. Kahane, Kohanim, Leviye, Leviim, Yisraele, Yisraelim, Chalalei, which are Chalalim, or a Kohen that cohabits with a woman who he's not allowed to marry with. Gere, converts, Charure, which are free Canaanite slaves. Mamzere are Mamzerim. Netine or netinim, we told the people from Givon. Shetuke and Asufeh, which we're going to see who the Shetukim and the Asufim are. Kane Leviye ve'Yisraele mutarim lavo ze bazeh. Kohanim, Leviim, Yisraelim are allowed to marry one another. Leviye, Yisraele, Chalele, Gere, V'charure mutare lavo ze bazeh. Leviim, Yisraelim, Chalalim, converts and freed slaves are permitted to marry one another. But Kohanim cannot marry female Chalalim, they cannot marry freed slaves, they cannot marry converts. Gere, Vacharure, Mamzere, Netine, Shetuke, Asufe, Kulam Mutarim Zelaze. Converts, free slaves, Mamzerim, Netinim, Shetukim, and Asufim, they're all allowed to marry one another, but Kohanim, Levim, and Yisraelim are not allowed to marry Mamzerim, Netinim, Shetukim, and Asufim. Ve'elu hem Shetuke. These are the Shetukim. Kol she'u makir et imo ve'eno makir et aviv. Anyone who knows who his mother is, but doesn't really know who his father is. So it's called Shetuke, is the silenced one. If his child calls someone father, the mother will silence him, meaning your father's unknown. That's why it's called Shetuke. Asufe, who are the Asufim? Misken kol shene'esaf min hashuk. Anyone who was taken from the street, ve'eno makir lo aviv ve'lo imo, doesn't know who his father is, doesn't know who his mother is. So one who's asuf is someone who's ne'esaf, who was taken in and gathered in from the street. Such a child is only considered Jewish if he's found in a town where most of the residents are Jews. If he was found in a town where most are non-Jews, then we have to assume he's a non-Jew. Abba Shaul haya koreh lishtuke beduke. Abba Shaul would always call the Shetukim, the one who knows who the mother is but not the father, he would call them Beduke, which are examined ones, because the court would question, they would examine the mother about the identity of the father, and if she says that he wasn't a pagum, he wasn't disqualified, a pasul, then she's believed. Mishnah Gimel. Kol ha'asurin lavo bakahal. Anyone who is forbidden to enter the congregation, people forbidden to marry ordinary Jews, like a Moavi, mutarim lavo ze bazeh, they are permitted to marry one another. Forget Moavim, sorry, like Mamzerim and Etinim. So Mamzerim and Etinim are allowed to marry one another, but they can also marry converts from the nations of Ammon Moab. Rabbi Yehuda forbids converts to marry mamzerim. He agrees that such a thing cannot take place. Rabbi Eliezer says, Vada'an bevada'an mutar. Marriage between people who are definitely forbidden to marry regular Jews and others who are definitely forbidden to marry regular Jews. So it's a vadai and a vadai who get married. That mutar, they're allowed to get married. So a mamzer is allowed to marry a mamzeret. Vada'an bisfeka. However, a marriage between those who are definitely forbidden to get married to a regular Jew and those who are possibly forbidden to get married to a non-Jew. So for example, a mamzer marrying a shetuki, okay? Usfekan bevada'an, or the other way around, someone who's possibly forbidden with those who are definitely forbidden. So that's a male shituki with a mamzeret. Usfekan bisfekan, or the marriage between those who are possibly forbidden and those who are possibly forbidden. So a male shituki and a female shituki. In these cases, in these three cases, asur, the marriage is forbidden, because the one who's possibly forbidden might actually be a real Jew. And if they're a real Jew, they can't marry a mamzer or a mamzeret. And the Mishnah concludes, Ve'elu hena sfekot. These are the people who we consider possible Jews. The Shetuki, the Asufi, the Kuti, and the Kuthian. We will stop here and we will continue next time, Bezrat Hashem.